Hey y'all, we're live on the internet. It is November, I'm not sure, the 26th, 2019. Holler if y'all hear me out there. Let me know in the comments what date it is. It's a Monday, alright? We're all over it. We're about to get into it. In the meantime, give people some time to settle in.
God, if you want it, turn around.
I was actually just listening to Gen Z. Alright, we were getting prepared for the broadcast and I came across this smooth rap.
You deserve it, baby, you deserve it. I'm gonna give it to you, gold jewelry shining so bright. Strawberry champagne, all nice. Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like. Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like. Takes by the fire at night.
Shout out to the person up in the building. I see you out there. We're about to get up in it. We're about to get up in it.
That's what I like. That's what I like.
It's November the 26th,
Reyes, thank you for the ice cream. Man, bonjour, bonjour. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? Oh.
I thought that was pretty smooth, and that was our boy Bruno Mars, world class talent. I believe it's Bruno Mars doing a rap. I thought I would throw that on, but actually, shout out the person up in the building. Actually, I got a song that I want to dedicate to y'all stragglers who might wander up in this, what we're doing here on YouTube. I want to thank y'all and say I appreciate y'all, man. We're gonna really dive into it tonight. I got some stuff lined up. All right. Meanwhile, while we settle in, I have a song that's dedicated to you, and as soon as Gen C right here starts playing it, I think you're gonna understand exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so I dedicate this to you. Shout out everybody out there, and especially Shania Twain fans like myself.
I'm not lazy. But Shania Twain.
It's dedicated to you. All right, I see you out there. This is for you, and we're about to dive into it.
Looks like we made it. Look how far we've come on, baby. I might have took the long way. We knew we'd get here someday. They said, I bet they never make it. But just look at us holding on.
That's you and me.
We're still together, still going strong.
It's been a long time.
You're still the one that I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life.
Real talk.
You're still the one that I love, the one that I better. Baby, the odds together. I'm glad we didn't listen. Look at what we would be missing. They said, I bet they never make it, but just look at us holding on. We're still together, still going strong. You're still the one that I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life. You're still the one that I love, the only one I dream. Oh, you're still the one I kiss. Good night.
It's y'all.
You're still the one that I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life. You're still the one that I love, the only one I dream. Oh, you're still the one I want for life. I'm so glad we made
There's
it.
more.
Look how far we've come on, baby.
that's a metaphor for y'all. You know what I'm saying? And it's about time I just went ahead and admitted it. And I appreciate y'all out there. There's Shania Twain. There's Gen C. Actually, I don't think I left the link on the past video where we featured Gen C. I found her on D Live. I don't know if she's anywhere else. But people go on D Live and they start offering you lemons and ice creams and ninja guineas and all sort of mystical weird stuff, all right? I don't know how many people are up on the D Live, but there are some people up on the D Live. I think it's very big for gamers and things. Anyways, you can sometimes catch people that are playing the guitar and stuff like that. And I like to do that a little bit on D Live, not on YouTube. They don't have no lemons and ninjas. All right, I'm trying to get this situated right quick. We got a show that's pretty well lined up. We got some things that we've been meaning to talk about and meaning to break down in all sort of detail at great length. All right. Before we do it, or actually the first thing that we want to get to is a video that I'm looking for right now. And I could have sworn that I could have sworn that I had it on hand. And it's a video. It's going to be sort of breaking news. It's something very serious that I got to share with y'all. And it might be a trending. Here, we're going to find this video in a second. But the thing is, I want to go immediately. I want to start off the broadcast with this. It's a comment that I got from an ally for sure on the YouTube front, on the internet, on the content creating front. I want to jump to that immediately. It's a comment that I received, or actually I left a comment on the man, Bobcat. We're going to see if we can find his video. I got it stored away somewhere, all right? It was pretty interesting. It was talking about a lot of things, all right? But if in case we can't find that video, I didn't realize that it's not on my Power Director. It's in somewhere in my gallery, if y'all know like phone terminology. Somewhere in there, and I'll have to look for it. But the thing is, what's most important is this here comment, all right? See, I left a comment on his last video, and I say, I haven't been getting notifications. Basically, I let him know, I haven't heard from you in a while. And when I saw one of his videos, actually, I went to go look for it. It was pretty interesting. He was talking about a certain situation involving Caitlin Nicole Davis, which is kind of an esoteric thing. It's the case that I follow, that a lot of people follow. He follows, and he's talking about it. And I forget all what he said, but he was going into sort of a rant about the drama in and around that certain situation. I left a comment, like I said, talking about I haven't seen him in a while and this and that. And then he left me a pretty dang important comment back. He responded, and it's actually on a video that has been since deleted. This is over the past day or so. So this is breaking news. Shout out to 3 people up in the building. We're getting down to some of this YouTube drama, all right? So Bobcat, he left me a comment, but then he left me another comment just to make sure that I got it, because like I said, the video we were talking about was actually deleted. I want to read the comment real quick and stuff. For all the YouTube creators, for all the people out there on YouTube, watching as YouTube slithers around, if you will, and creates different rules and keeps on moving the goalposts. All right, here's a comment that kind of speaks towards the heart of that. Shout out to the 4 people up in the building. I see y'all out there. I'll keep an eye out for comments and stuff, so just give me a second. We're going to have to read this out. I think it's very important. It's from Bobcat himself, and hopefully we can find the video. If we don't find it tonight, I will make sure to find it in the morning. And I'm not sure if he wants me to re-upload it. I don't know that he would want me to, because the thing is, he recently deleted his whole channel. Either that or privatized all the videos and stuff. You really can't tell. Oh, okay. He says this. Due to the privatizing and the deleting of all my videos, like I just detailed, he says, I thought that you may not get my response to your comment you made on the channel about 20 hours ago. All right. So everything's breaking. This is all pretty new. He says this. As you can see, it's kind of a little bit detailed. He says, I have not made any videos in the recent months due to the crash of my laptop. And, that came out of nowhere. He said, I now have a Chromebook, but I have not become adjusted to using it in video setting. Chromebook, I don't know if that's an Apple. Is that an Apple thing? Either way, he says not even my raw videos for uploads. He's having trouble getting that situated. I don't know how many of y'all out there have had trouble in doing that sort of thing. I've never really messed around with Apple. I did so like maybe in my high school years. I wouldn't know my way around Apple or Apple products. They give me the willies personally, but let's go ahead and read a little bit more into this. He says, but it does not matter anymore anyways. And now you start to hear dramatic. There's something very ominous about that, how he says that. He says, it does not matter anymore anyways. He says, I'm not deleting my channel, but I am removing videos. And I have, what does it say? I have scrapped my plans to further upload to any of my channels due to the leftist infiltration, hijacking of America, and implementing control by hope and change of laws, just as Hitler did. Shout out to the 5 people up in the building. I know a lot of people will feel a lot of different ways from what it is that I just read, right? For the most part, in essence, I know what he's talking about. I don't know about y'all out there, but I do have some idea about what he's talking about. And, we're going to discuss probably how critical that sort of situation is. I want to holler at y'all about it, see how y'all feel about it. All right, in the meantime, let me read what else Bobcat has brought for us. A dear contributor, like I said, a strong ally up in the game. I've told him many times that I appreciate his style. And there's a reason I kept coming back, all right, to Bobcat. Trust me, there was a reason for that. He goes on to say, COPPA laws, which is COPPA, for those of y'all, who might be familiar. I'm not too familiar. He says, they're very strict in enforcement, but extremely vague in the area of determining, what's that word? Resulting in the ability to pick and choose violators. I think some of y'all might have an idea what he's talking about. Shout out to the 5 people up in the building. What Bobcat's talking about, some of this it might be news to y'all. All right, the FTC is the deciding factor on who they feel will be in violation of these COPPA laws. The content creators, uploaders do not have that power as they seem to think. These are all the words of Bobcat. He says, marking the channel videos as not for children does not make it safe. If the FTC feels that an upload could attract children, then they can bring up criminal charges against a creator that includes suing for up to $42,000 per violation. Now, I know that Bobcat's not just pulling out these figures and this and that from nowhere. It's not to say like how legit, I have no idea how legit it is, but I do know that he's not pulling out these figures from out of nowhere, all right? And I'm sure that there's legislation either being set in place or is in place that looks like this, or if not very similar, I'm sure of it, all right? This is true. We want to discuss how crucial this is, right? In a second, like, I don't know how much longer. It's a pretty long comment, but it's very profound. It's very deep. I'd be remiss to not share this with y'all. So he goes on and says, ask yourself this question. What content are children not attracted to? This is true. Y'all have to, well, I'm pretty sure y'all already know, but just to reassure y'all, all right? You make content here. The thing is, during this broadcast in particular, I'm gonna show these pictures and stuff that are on Instagram. All right, and it's interesting is it's amazing, these pictures, and it's a whole world of these pictures. None of them get deleted. None of these accounts get like banned from Instagram. I'm talking about, we're going to take a look at ghouls and goblins before we get out of here. I mean it, ghouls and goblins. All right, y'all already know. Thing is, it's on Instagram. Nobody's kicking it off. It's not deleted. And meanwhile, if someone would come around and look at my video in which we just talk about the tip of the iceberg, I'm talking about it gets nuts up in these Instagrams. All right, professional, beautiful lady demon goblins all up on Instagram. And if I were to show somebody, they'd be like, oh man, you're traumatize children by showing them what happens at Drag Queen Story Hour? And it's like, nah, I'm just showing what happens quite clearly on Instagram. And y'all been endorsing it. All right, it's all, if you know how to find it and you know how to down some rabbit holes, you're going to find it. All this ghouls and all these goblins, right? Shout out to me if 5 people up in the building. Holler if you hear me. I'm talking about if, it's coming in clear. And if my message, it kind of resonates with any of y'all. All right, but before we get into this and some other stuff, I want to read this out. Bobcat says the answer is none. All right, children are curious by nature and attracted to everything. That's true. I don't know how many of y'all out there feel me when I say a child is a whole human being. All right, ever since day one and before that, just a whole person. It's like I see a lot of people out there who say care for children out there. It's like, dude, it's none of my business. Y'all gonna care for children. I hope you do it the best way, right? But however, there are whole people. It's like some people they have a demeanor of like regarding a child as like maybe half a person or something like that. If y'all feel me out there. And meanwhile, they're always a whole person. You might as well just treat them like that, some sort of respect. Um, Anyways, Bobcat says, and because of the amount of children disappearing into certain words that we probably couldn't even say on YouTube. I'm not even gonna say it, all right? But we all know what it is. I'm not even gonna say it, but you see what it is. Empires through an open border that the left demands to remain open because they're evil. This absolute proof couple laws are just for the illusion. They're actually assisting the criminals by enforcing silence, all right? See, that's a sentiment that I can kind of endorse in a sense because I have a feeling it is getting wild up in there. And the thing is, some weird stuff is happening. It does seem like the biggest criminals are covering up for all the other big criminals, and they're in charge of enforcing things for the most part. If not by their money and their power and their influence, they're in charge of it. All right, they're deciding who does and does not get caught up for all sort of weird, corrupt things that people are doing upon the internet. So, anyways, Bobcat says that's the reason evil demands silence while innocence wants exposure. We're about to really dwell upon this and talk about this for a second. He says they will use COPA laws to imprison anyone that they choose. As a patriotic American and not a damn Nazi leftist. Oh, man. I don't even know if I was supposed to say that word. Thing is, Google's going to take all my words that I'm saying right now and they recognize them. They type it all on a transcript. And you could tell because they'll put subtitles up under my video and the video will say the words. Someone typed out the words. It's a robot and they recorded it. So if I even say these words, they're gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, shouldn't have said those words." All right, so I'm gonna play it cool, y'all. I'm gonna be safe as we go forth, but I think y'all get my picture. It says, "I know I'm a target to be an example. You can't fight the evil from behind bars." All right, very ominous. He says, I had to implement a new way. The entire system is a charade for silencing, domination, and control. All right. And sobering, he leaves us off with this. Therefore, I will be removing content and not uploading new content. And I won't allow the left to win against me in their bogus illusion laws. Thank you for supporting me. It's been real. And I would like to go ahead and extend that back to Bobcat. I don't know if he's going to see this. He said he would keep an eye out for it. Um, I feel the reason I brought this up, I thought it was very important, is that this has already been happening, this sort of thing, where people get driven off from, they realize the different ways in which they can supposedly incriminate themselves just by being real on a camera and delivering their thoughts, their reports, their analysis on what's going on in the world and stuff, things that people enjoy sharing with each other and stuff like that. I know that a lot of people and content creators, this is one reason why a lot of content creators are never born, if you will, or never created. Like they never start out because it's basically it's a nagging question in your head whether or not you're just gonna say something that's gonna rub somebody the wrong way and they come in and for whatever reason ruin your life. Perhaps in the government, perhaps not even in the government. perhaps some random person or whatever is going to catch you doing some sort of stuff, and it's going to totally ruin your life, probably. Right? Some people get up out of Dodge. Some people start off doing the YouTube thing, and they realize pretty soon it's not the only reason that they get off. Is they realize that the internet is very harsh and people will come at you real bad. I mean, people are gonna get at you in the most weird kind of ways. It's very bizarre, and it's very vulgar, and it gets really perverse and stuff like that. But not only that, it's quite clear. By the time I entered the YouTube game, it was already becoming quite clear that YouTube was hating on people, especially the small content creators that created YouTube and gave it such a flourishing environment and stuff with all sort of money flowing. All right. I want to take a look at that. And, towards the end of this broadcast, I might even take a look to see if I can find the actual video. I'm going to find that video regardless because all the other videos have been either deleted or privatized. Bobcat was explaining something like, and it's a sentiment, it's been coming in waves and stuff. Every once in a while, people are like, oh man, they're going to start arresting people for their speech up in America, all up on YouTube, or, we're saying this, we're saying that. They're trying to implement new guidelines, trying to implement new laws. We could end up in prison. And the thing is, I'm not discounting that at all. I want to say, on a personal note, I want to put it out there. I'm not discounting that at all. All right. That, I mean, I've seen enough wild stuff to know that, yeah, it could get wild enough to have you arrested for something that you thought was innocuous and it could have been. You said on the internet and you didn't even realize you overstepped this line, and then people come kicking down your door. All right. I mean, the thing is, it sounds fantastic, but yeah, it is fantastic. We're living in all sort of wild times. All right. I've been telling people. That's the thing about it. People out there have responsibilities, and I can appreciate that. I have certain responsibilities as well. Um, but I notice it's like, I completely understand the reason, the logic, the fact that they're hinting at it and continue to hint at it. But I'm going to just go ahead and roll the dice. I think, for the most part, I've been said that's the problem. It's like I'm already in too deep, personally. I've been said all sort of things that are just a little bit too individualized, and they might sound a weird kind of way, especially taken out of context. I love everybody, by the way, on Earth, and everybody's been on Earth. All right, all those people, love all of them. All right, don't have no hatred, but I'll be put down for hate speech and this and that. Throw me in jail. That might happen. I've personally resigned to the point is, yeah, I might get thrown in jail, probably not for no reason, and they're just gonna throw me in jail, and that's all it's gonna be. It's like I might as well not swim against the tide if that does happen, and if it doesn't happen, well, that's fantastic. I'm glad that it didn't happen, but it's probably gonna happen. So it's like, dang, that's how I've been thinking about it. I guess I wanted to hear a word from y'all out there, how y'all might be feeling about it. There might be some people out in the viewing area right now. Maybe thought about doing a YouTube thing. Maybe thought about sharing ideas. Thing is, it's going to go across the world. All sort of people are going to be watching it across the world, and they're going to be so fascinated by you. That's true. But at the same time, like I said, there's going to be some weird ghouls and goblins that come out of nowhere. And they're going to troll you real bad. I'm going to be back. All right, I'm back. Let's just readjusting the clock to see just how much time we have. We got about, perhaps maximum, we have about an hour to share, y'all. And there's things that we definitely got to tackle. And let me know in the comment section how y'all feel. But I was asking just a second ago, like, out there is, it might be people out there who they're scared to get in the game. Not scared, but they're too concerned and they're too cautious, and they see these developing trends of YouTube and they're buckling down. They're looking like supreme people. All right, and they're putting in supreme laws, and it's kind of terrifying in a little bit to some people, and they think, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. And the thing is, I got to imagine that there's people out there on Earth who shouldn't get on the internet. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's a limit at a certain point as far as to people being on the internet expressing all their thoughts and stuff. There has to be a limit because it's kind of a spectator thing at the end of the day. For as much people who are going to go on the internet and express their thoughts, there has to be at least 10 or more people who are not on the internet, probably not expressing their thoughts, and they're just listening to people, right? I very much enjoy listening to people. That's why I got on YouTube and this and that way back in the day. Some people like to do that out there, and they're out there. Thing is, I gotta say, as far as the internet goes, the supply is not meeting the demand. All right, I don't even think that is close as far as content creators. And the reason that you could tell is like, you'll know all sort of content creators who had tens of thousands of subscribers or hundreds of thousands, all right? Pretty well popular and at the same time, not exactly famous, all right? Can walk down the street without getting totally mauled everywhere they go and everything goes insane, right? Doesn't even sound good. But there's still plenty of people out there. There's so many people out there who got tens of thousands of subscribers and do pretty well for themselves and stuff like that. Each and every one of them can get torn apart by these laws here that they keep proposing against free speech and against our rights. I think we all can, I wouldn't say agree, but we can all see that there's some sort of notion that the Constitution is being upheld. A lot of the times, that's the illusion that's, I don't even say perpetrated as much as facilitated across the nation, is that we do have a Constitution and that people do have rights. And I think it could be debatable as to whether or not we're actually upholding it or how good we're upholding it. We got Angela Tate up in the building, all right? Shout out to Angela Tate. Shout out to the rest of y'all out there. But Angela Tate's putting in work, right? So she said, okay, Gerard, it's almost 3 in the morning. Can't stay long. I need to be up at 7 a.m. And she's always cussing, all right? That's Angela Tate. I hope Angela Tate actually goes to sleep, man. Get some rest, all right? It's going to be recorded, I suppose, and stuff. You're going to find it tomorrow. And you can catch up on all the stuff. I mean, we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. You can trust in that, but you're gonna need some rest. I'm pretty sure of it. Don't be pushing it. Don't be pushing it. It's really late where you're at. It's like, dude, where you at, dude? What time is it right now? Where do you live at? Like Alaska? We're gonna get down to the bottom of it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have to get back with y'all with that movie. See if I can or not that movie, but that video, because I recorded a video from Bobcat in which he was kind of detailing certain things. I thought it was kind of interesting. You'll note that on the internet, you can get taken down for many reasons, and you can get trolled into the point of submission, basically. All right, and he was talking a lot about that concerning a case involving a case that we follow here on this channel, the Caitlin Nicole Davis case. All right, he said he got a lot of trolling off of that. He said, it gets a little bit real. It hits a little bit close to home because a lot of these trolls, they'll get certain information on you and they'll start making some sort of sadistic threats. All right, y'all, we have all these sort of screenshots. I got them all built up. I'm fixing to go ahead and delete them. All right, Angela Tate says I'll try and curb the cussing. It doesn't even matter, I guess. Like, as long as you put it in secret acronyms and stuff, so that the little children don't get corrupted by it and stuff. We feel you out there. We're all adults out there. I appreciate you. But yeah, you should get some rest. This definitely is not important enough. All right, we're just going to cover some stuff, and then it is going to be recorded on YouTube in the morning. I'm going to leave it up, all right? I'm going to leave it up. We might get into some hate speech and stuff like that. We might be breaking the new laws. And that's the thing. It's like, I can't help it, but I'm going to go ahead and embrace it, all right? They might put me in jail. I pretty much, if I had to bet, I would say they're going to put me in jail one day. I don't know why, but they're going to figure out a way to do it. And I'm pretty sure of it. I'm just going to let it happen. All right. So in the meantime, let's just scroll through some of these screenshots. We're going to get into the important stuff just in a few minutes, y'all. But I wanted to dip our toes in across the nation, across the world, see what's really popping in the streets. Transatlantic hate neo-Nazi. And here's a news blitz. Adam Waffen division spreads fear in Germany. This is not a real thing. And I keep bringing it up. I might be the only person you ever heard that ever brought this up. All right. I wouldn't doubt it. Either that or USA Today might have brought it up one time. Who's to say? I don't know. I've never seen it except for when Google tells me about it. Who else is Google telling about this? I know the reason that Google even tells me about it is because I searched it a few times way back in the day, and ever since then, Google's been telling me about it, and I haven't been telling them to stop. So I know that I see it all the time. Atomwaffen division. It's like, who has ever heard of this? Somebody in the comments section, safety first, as always. But, if you get a chance, tell me if you ever heard of Atomwaffen division from anyone else. I really, really want to know. It's one of those things that can make you think that you're going crazy, all right? Because you're the only person that's ever heard of this. And it's supposed to be some sort of hate group. The thing is, they're drumming up, like I've said before, and it seems to be more and more apparent every day. They're just drumming up hard evidence, if you will. Basically, this speculation that they kind of mold and fabricate into stories that they're going to use later. They know that nobody's reading them right now. That's not the point. They want a digital evidence on the fact is that they were calling this particular group sweeping the nation has like no members in it at all. They got these funny pictures, these funny cartoon-like pictures. Atomwaffen, it's not a real thing, all right? And I keep saying that, and I'm pretty good and accurate when I think I got a good reputation as far as when it's not a real thing, all right? President Donald Trump is spotted with toilet paper on his shoe. Isn't that amazing? All right, it's good. It's good, Angela Tate. We're going to see you tomorrow, and we appreciate it. Angela Tate is one of the people who's up on my Discord already. The other person, that's me. All right, we've been having conversation here and there up on Discord. The thing is, I know it's going to take a while to get up off of his feet. All right, it's going to take a while to convince people to actually download an app. And trust me, I know I'm very hard to convince to download an app. Like I try to keep it bare minimum. That being said, Discord, it seems like the thing to do. And I know you can get kicked off of Discord just like anything else. It's a chat room, and you're not supposed to say certain things up in Discord. From what I understand, you might get kicked out of that or whatever. But in the meantime, it is a pretty good way of having like a chat room in which all these different people could just converse. It's kind of like the YouTube comment section, but not as tedious, if you will, and everybody can communicate with everybody at the same time. All right, it's kind of a community. We kind of think about the same things. All right. Anyways, President Donald Trump has toilet paper on his shoe. All right, that's bad. Hours after another school shooting, Florida student again asked lawmakers to do more. What they mean is to create more laws. A pack of white thugs brawl at Popeyes drive-through over a chicken sandwich. I'm fixing to delete all these, y'all. I don't want any more evidence of this being on my phone. All right, it's not to say that people will dig into my stuff and they'll find all sort of weird, wild stuff. All right, and then they'll incriminate me over it. Ariana Grande reveals new tattoos covering her entire hand. All right, for that beta sex kitten thing. Can we even say those words? Beta sex kitten? We know what it is. MK Ultra, we already know what it is. 9-year-old child genius to graduate university. See, it's not always negative. It's not like, there's good things that happen. And there's a balance in the world. And I know a lot of people would say, oh, that's fake news. Oh, they're making it up. This child could not. There's no way. And the thing is, it's been done before. It just goes to show you the power of the human mind. And if you treat a child with a certain kind of respect, and kind of treat them as a whole person, you'd be surprised at the limitless kind of characteristics of human beings. All right, it's kind of interesting. Election supervisor apologizes for 54,000 erroneous letters. I read a little bit into that. All right, someone accidentally sent 54,000 letters. It's like, think about that. That's the government in a nutshell, ain't it? Leah L said delete. She's gonna get deleted. She's worried about getting deleted, or that I'm going to get deleted, or I'm going to start deleting people, and maybe I will. All right, I'm thinking about it. It says election supervisor apologizes for 50. Like I said, that's just a government in a nutshell, where you can accidentally send 54,000 letters in the mail on an accident. All right, that's crazy. Anyways, in the comments, I want to check out what's going on here. We're talking about a mongler. We're talking about a handler, a monger and a handler. All right, I'm not sure if we're talking about Ariana Grande, and honestly, I'm not even sure if that would qualify, and I bet you it does, as hate speech. All right, get us banned up off the internet, quick, fast, and in a hurry. According to some of these laws, according to some of these restrictions, it's very hateful. I don't know if we're talking about Ariana Grande or we're just saying that in general, or what that might be about. All right, but it might have something to do with those hand tattoos. That's what I'm implying. That's what I'm inferring. It might, the hand tattoos might be a big old red flag. Anyways, undocumented duo accused of scamming people in 4 states arrested in San Antonio, y'all. We made the news. We make the news a lot. All right, I'm pretty proud of that. Texas state lawmaker is arrested after admitting to carrying cocaine packets at an airport. All right, that dude's wilding out. All right, get a load of that guy. Cocaine packets. He had little packets of them. And he got caught up for that, I guess. Texas Popeyes customer catches young boy working in a restaurant kitchen. He said it was so insane. Problem is that y'all's demand for Popeyes chicken sandwiches obviously was so insane. And so they wound up hiring this little kid. He's probably a relative of one of the employees, probably getting that money, probably making America great again. I know a lot of people would speak out against that, but I'm kind of, in a sense, I gotta endorse it. To a limit, I do have to endorse it. Child labor. I'm kind of a fan of it. I know it's not really good. It's gonna get me kicked off of the internet, but I gotta just say, deadly school shooting in Santa Clarita, and we just got these screenshots. We're gonna delete them. We're gonna delete them. We certainly don't have time for all this. You see that though? Crazy stuff. Ariana Grande and her hand tattoos. Chicago gang, ISIS. Isn't that crazy? Robert F. Kennedy, anti-vax, Facebook. It's like, dude, tripping out on vax. A lot of people have been asking me about vax. They've been asking me about anti-vaxxers a lot. It's like I'm not even sure why. I don't know if they heard of that new movie came out. It's called Anti-Vax 2. They probably haven't. But I bet you they've been seeing propaganda. It's all pro-vax and stuff. I like vax too. I gotta say I'm pro-vax as well. I mean, especially if the vaccines actually worked and if they weren't deadly dangerous, in which they are, and filled up and chalked up lots of times with deadly dangerous ingredients. That's all I gotta say. It's like, dude, you could find it on a piece of paper. I know, I've seen it. These dang robots are taking over, including in the bedroom. This dude, he crashed into a school. All right, that's wild. That's wilding out. That's in South Florida, right? All sort of things popping off, as you can see. But there's only a few things that we're gonna dive into at great length right now before we get out of here. While we have the time to do it, I want to talk about these things, and I brought them up on a prior an informal podcast that we did last night, in which we were trying to figure out some of the technical difficulties. We were trying to do that earlier this morning as well, as far as those videos, and we're trying to figure out what we can get away with, what we can do. Obviously, right now the big thing we figured out is we cannot have the camera on, and it bogs down the whole broadcast. I wish we could have the camera on. It feels so much more like, you're looking at me, and I'm your friend on the internet, something like that. A Mr. Rogers type thing, but not creepy. And the thing is, I've always found Mr. Rogers and that whole thing very creepy. All right, but in a non-creepy way. We can't do that, and we've been, figuring that out. But last night we did touch upon a couple of things. I want to go ahead and touch on them a little bit more and just dive into them because there are going to be cases, like most cases, that continue on, all right, that are going to continue to have these developing updates, all right. Right now, what it popped up on automatically, I wasn't even sure if we were going to share this, y'all, but we might as well share it. We might as well get it out of the way. Y'all, I've been diving down certain rabbit holes. Like I said, Instagram, all right? It's like a treasure trove of things that are sick and very disturbed, all right? And the thing is, you wouldn't know about this. I don't expect you to know about this until you come across it. And then you realize it exists, and you're like, what in the world is this? And it's blowing your mind, all right? The reason I came across Erica Clash, and we're going to get it out of the way, is there was an incident at Whataburger in Austin, Texas. Real life incident. I want to see the surveillance footage. I know it exists, all right? But we had this drag queen, if you will, basically a ghoul and a goblin. And we're about to look at some pictures and try and not get kicked off the internet. Like I said, these pictures are something real. I'm not even going to show you the extent of these pictures, but I might show you a couple of them, all right? It gets ridiculous. All right, but anyways, this drag queen or ghoul or goblin, whatever, tries to come into Whataburger. It was at a drag queen international festival or something being held in Austin, and that's not too far away from here. They had an international festival. This guy comes leaking up out of the dang festival of supposed drag queens, wants to go to Whataburger. He tries to go in the lobby and they stop him. Somebody has some sense in there and they stop him. Once we look at some pictures, you're going to understand completely why. All right, why they stop him. And he makes a big fuss out of it. I think he goes on Twitter and he's like, look, this cannot stand. I'm a drag queen and I'm a powerful lady. And yeah, I'm a lady and I can do everything ladies can do. And this and that, y'all holding me back. And Whataburger, you totally discriminate on me. Or something. He says something like that on Twitter. And obviously he's threatening legal recourse. Whataburger then goes on Twitter, where everything happens these days, and they break themselves off and they apologize. So we don't have time to go skipping this and that throughout the internet, but trust me, these things are all on the internet. You can go ahead and check it out if you wanted to. So Whataburger incident, it was resolved over Twitter, in which Whataburger went ahead and broke themselves off and totally apologized and bent themselves backwards in order to say, you know, that they don't have anything against the LGBTQ IIA p-.org to the second power. They don't have a problem with that. Not at all. They're going to break themselves off, and they made it abundantly clear. Meanwhile, I think they kind of jumped the gun, right? I don't know if they know what they were dealing with, or maybe they did know exactly what they're dealing with. But I went ahead and I seen from the article, the person's name is Erica Clash. What's their real name? Who freaking knows, all right, when it comes to these ghouls and goblins. I think it's very important to point this out. We're, like I said, we're not going to see the extent of it. But mind you, I found this person on Instagram, and you're always going to be able to find these people on Instagram, these type of people. Hold on one second. I'm sideways. I know that y'all see it right way up, but I'm seeing it all sideways, man. It's throwing me off. All right, I'm going to have to deal with it going sideways. Hopefully y'all ain't sideways, you know what I'm saying? I think it's streaming and y'all got it right side up, but I'm all having to have my head all cocked. We're looking at ghouls and goblins, all right? Hold on, I'm gonna cock my head to the side. We can't show you all of it because, like, if you're looking at some of these pictures, wow, it's like, dude, this is horrifying. When you look at some of these pictures, it's kind of a hobby of this person. And it's just like actually their occupation. Somehow there's money being made by doing these sort of things. And after a little bit of research into the Instagram, you realize it's kind of a professional thing. It's kind of a thing that they do all the time. It's not like it's Halloween and stuff, and sometimes they take cool Halloween pictures and they're proud of their Halloween costumes. It's like an all the time thing, right? This particular subgenre that you might have never stumbled over is called pastel gore. In fact, if you go in to Instagram and you type in hashtag pastel, like, you know, the colors, GORE, all one word. All right, you're gonna figure it out. You'll find that this is a whole subgenre of things. And it's very bizarre. All right, you're gonna notice that it does have influences certain things like anime. I'm not trying to really call out anime because I know that's kind of a widespread thing. But just definitely ghouls and goblins, all right? I'm hoping we don't get kicked off from just what you're seeing right now. It's a whole bunch of thumbnails. Trust me, if you click on some of these pictures, it's really gruesome. And you're going to notice a lot of different things, all right? A lot of different trends, a lot of different repeating things. Obviously, there's going to be upside down crosses, all right? Obviously. It happens every time. And I wanted to point that out. It's like, amongst all the weird, ghoulish, ugly, unnatural things that are happening, you're always going to see upside down crosses. It's something that they can't help. And when you think back to, you know, before you started thinking a different kind of way, all right? Some of us would call it growing up. Some of us been reborn and we think completely different than we used to. All right, you look back and you think, man, I can't even explain why I did half of the things that I did back then when I didn't know what I was doing or why. And with that kind of, with that kind of sentiment, I always want to look at this person and stress. This person has no idea why they're doing what they're doing. They might think that they know, but in the end, it's like this person has no clue what they're doing. All right, just no clue, and it deserves, I guess, a certain amount of, empathy. All right, and it definitely deserves some sort of consideration. But the thing is, it's disgusting. It's a thing called pastel gore, and it's really trippy. The thing is, we're gonna follow this person. We've been following all sort of other grotesque things, and we're just keeping an eye on them. And it's kind of a good example to just put out there and say, look, this is where you can go if you go far enough away from, say, God. Maybe that's a suggestion. Thing is, that might sound like hate speech, but it's like, well, you wander off too far, you might be looking like a ghoul and a goblin all over the place on Instagram, doing it professionally. And not only that, it's like always a sexual tinge to it. All right, I don't know if that'll get us kicked off of YouTube, but there's some sort of disgusting, perverted element to it all the time. You'll notice that the ghouls and goblins always be pretending to be ladies. Why is that? Because of the weird, wild stuff that they might participate in behind the scenes, all right? I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying that most of them, obviously. Probably all of them, all right? They be doing that sort of thing. And so, in that sense, they're like taking on the spirituality of a lady if, in fact, that lady was a ghoul and a goblin. And that's what they dress up. They do it all the time. And meanwhile, take a look at this. All right, this is what we're talking about, anyways. Think about this. Going up in a Whataburger, yeah, you're a ghoul and a goblin. Oh yeah, you're a professional, beautiful lady. All right, but at the same time, nobody knows who the hell you are. How are we gonna know your identity? Can come up in here and that's the same thing as a mask. You can go and rob people and stuff. We wouldn't know who you are, except for the fact that you're on Instagram and you're proud of what you're doing here, and you're calling yourself a beautiful lady. Anyways, I just wanted to cover that. It's a lot of things. Like I said, an upside down cross. You're always going to find upside down crosses. It's definitely a weird ghoul and goblin thing. And, people find themselves getting tricked and subdued into this sort of thing, right? And the problem with it is that it exists and that we don't know. If we did know, we could just point it out and say, that's not right, all right? Shouldn't do that. And at the same time, set good examples as adults, basically. And however we're living, we live in a lot of different ways, but to set a good example and to, like provide some sort of example that doesn't look like this, all right? But this is all over Instagram. And I'm talking about it's a whole sea of it that you never heard of, and they're all called different sort of things, and it's all deeply disturbing. All right, and it's all being celebrated on Instagram. Meanwhile, we're fixing to get kicked off for any little thing. All right, we don't have no free speech. All right, I want to get that out of the way. And we got actually some pretty important things that we want to break down just as soon as we can. Check out the comments just to let y'all know. I'm going to keep an eye on the comments. Let me know how you feel and stuff, or what you might have heard about these particular situations. We got two in particular that we've been covering. I did a little bit last night, but I wanted to go in a little bit more detail about them. Because I do believe that there are windows. There's so many things happening right now. It's like there's no way that we obviously keep track of all of them, but we're looking at certain things that'll prove to be windows, very important microcosms, prisms, if you will, to see what the hell's going on Earth. Leah L says, "What is Chicago?" Yeah, that's right. Oh man, because Leah L knows that she knows what's going on in Texas, and she knows a lot of people felt offended. Me personally, I haven't even been in Whataburger ever since that happened. You know what I'm saying? And trust me, you can find some transgenders up in a Whataburger. I've done it before. But you come up in there in a mask and stuff, and you trip out, and you go on Twitter, and Whataburger literally apologizes to you. All right, so it's just another example of what Whataburger has reduced themselves to, unfortunately. All right, Leah also said delete was you need to some of the stuff you have on your. Oh yeah, that's true, man. That's the kind of thoughts that you have and stuff. Meanwhile, I know it's like my archive is so extensive that I'm sure that there is some stuff. You can take anything. And not only that, you could delete your stuff and perhaps somebody archived it already. Perhaps somebody saved it without telling you. If you already had trolls and stuff, this might be what they tend to do. All right, and it's all sort of nuts. We're actually going to talk about um, in one of these stories that we're going to talk about right now. The idea of the fact is that you're being recorded regardless. I mess around with this technology and stuff. It is going to record you, and technically speaking, there is a record of it. It's just that you're not going to probably hear about it until the widespread slavery is enacted, and then at that point they'll say, "Hey, guess what? Pretty much all that stuff y'all are doing, it's been completely recorded this whole time." And it's going to be very relevant in this particular news item. We might as well go ahead and discuss right now. It's going to be very relevant. That thing right there, right? Being recorded for what you say, for what you do, being afraid that the internet might uh, get a hold of that and use it against you. All right. Here's the thing: we definitely, in a lot of ways, have gone past that yardstick. All right. And that, people have been getting convicted. I know of one case in particular. Who's to say how many other cases have been convicted of, say, for murdering like a loved one or something like that, and then it gets recorded off of Alexa. They thought, oh man, Alexa can't be on. I didn't say a keyword and stuff, so it didn't start recording. While I was murdering, my spouse or whatever, my loved one here, I was murdering them, and I didn't know I was being recorded by Alexa. And I've heard of this already, so I know y'all have heard of that sort of stuff already as well. You're being recorded, all right, and that is what it is, and it's going to be very important to talk about. I want to read from this article. This is a case that we've been following, and we're going to keep following it. The reason is because I think that I have an insight that many of us probably share this insight. Maybe some people disagree, and I want to hear about the disagreements. I have an insight into this case that's not going to be shared very much. As far as covering this case, the Daily Item has been on it, it's been on top of it, has been giving us all the lowdown about it. And I gotta commend them for it. All right, they put in work on this case, and it's really shown me a lot, and I appreciate it. I appreciate when media actually does something good. But the thing is, we want to share something that they might not have. They're not exactly putting across, and I can see it in their articles, and I don't blame them. But we do have to share this information because I think it's crucial. It's an article. It says exclusive Burgess. I did not do all of these things to Arabella. Now, here's the thing: for people who are already aware of this certain situation, it's a child abuse situation. What was alleged was that this young man did some terrible things, some very brutal physical things to this little girl. She's 3 years old, right? She was in a coma for over a month and stuff like that. She came out of the coma against all odds. She lived for about a day and a half or something like that until she finally succumbed to her wounds and stuff, and she's no longer with us on this plane, basically. All right. So this young fella, he's being accused, right? See, these are the allegations that went down. This is not he's not related to the young girl. All right. He's a young fella right here, and you probably thinking some sort of way about him. Trust me, I think that way for the most part at the same time, and we're going to discuss that in great detail. All right. But I was looking at this case, and it looked very typical. You got a mother who was present during this big altercation, this big physical abuse event. She was present at a time, and that rubs me the wrong way. I've seen it enough to know that that's not good. In fact, it's very risky. A lot of people don't realize. A lot of people don't suffer the consequences of the very risky actions of bringing some sort of grown adult around your child in a very personal way, and maybe they start to feel more personal around your child, and maybe they just start to slap around your child. Maybe that happens. I don't think that happens very frequently, or I mean, it does happen a lot, but I don't think it happens the majority of times. But it does happen a lot, kind of, when you let like some sort of grown adult, especially if there's drugs involved. And mind you, this whole situation had drugs all over the place, right? And we're going to talk about some of those drugs. It's brought up actually in the article, but okay, those were the allegations. All right, that was what's put across. Meanwhile, the mother, she winds up, her name is Sarah Del Camp. She winds up going on the Steve Wilkos show and making a damn fool out of herself, trying to look for some sort of public sympathy. That's what I gather. That's what she was attempting to do. It failed miserably. Steve Wilkos pretty much announced that he hates her guts and like she's one of the worst people that he's ever met in his life. All right, he really, really threw her under the bus. So her attempts for public sympathy did not work. This mother, and I want to stress that she's actually being charged with charges that roundabout are half as much as Jared Burgess right here. All right, which is kind of typical. And if you think about it logically, if he's the one who did all this abuse, then it would kind of make sense that he gets double the charges. Meanwhile, the mother is still being hit with felonies as far as endangering her child and stuff like that. That kind of didn't sit with me right. And trust me, there's reasons for that. I had sort of instincts because, of course, we're not being told the whole story. Obviously, we're not going to get told the whole story right away. It's going to take time to come out. All right. So, I reserved my judgments about it, but I did kind of have a feeling as to where this was going. And I had certain theories. We're about to discuss them real quick. And my theory basically had to deal with probably what we're going to see as an exhibit of a lack of justice. All right. A supreme example of a lack of justice. Is talking about a small child who's abused in a nightmarish way. All right. It's going to deal with that, and it's going to deal with an extreme lack of justice. My particular theory. And we're going to discuss it in a second, but I wanted to read this article to kind of give you a feel. It's one of the most recent articles, what people are talking about right now in concerns of Arabella Parker. Because, like I said, she already came and went, if you will. All right. Lord knows it was going to be tough for her to carry on with all the things that were obviously put in her way. She was in a coma for a long time. She had to get parts of her brain removed because her injuries were so bad. And they were continuous. There were signs of injuries that were there for a long time. And that's all very typical. We're going to discuss it in a second, but let's go ahead and read this. Editor's note, I don't really want to read this. You can see that. This is Jared Burgess, denied, causing the injuries that killed Arabella Parker. All right, in an exclusive interview with the Daily Item on Friday, who's getting the scoop for real, but admitted that he slapped the child and her mother, Samantha Del Camp, then his girlfriend, because they were not following the rules. That might sound a little bit awkward, all right? But I have a theory, and I already had a theory in mind, and everything that's being said right now is just going to reaffirm it. I want to share with y'all why. My theory was that this is going to be a very awkward situation, a very awkward living situation. It's probably going to have something to do with drugs. It's going to be very awkward. All right, so it's already proven to be quite awkward. He admits to slapping the little girl around and slapping the mom a little bit. The thing is, my theory is that this little boy, and trust me, I've seen his Instagram. I've seen all the stuff that you can check out about Jared Burgess. Trust me, you can find his Instagram. We've gone over it a little bit. I've seen it. I bet you he's done. I bet you he's slapped him. And I bet you it wasn't even that hard either. I bet you they got him to admit it because the detectives, the investigators, they got him to admit any little thing that he might have done, all right, while interrogating the crap out of this young man. And trust me, I'm not on the side of this young man, but I want to point that out, that this is probably what happened, all right, and that he might have, like, did what he's talking about. He probably did it in a very minimal way, just if I'm judging the book by its cover. And it was probably very awkward, and there probably was drugs around. Trust me, I don't know if it's going to get into all the details, but I've seen all the details surrounding not only these people but their close families, and it's wild. Trust me, it's wild. And so we're going to get into it, but I want to read a little bit more of this article before we start discussing what my theory is, how practical it might sound, how typical it might be. All right, and the red flags to look for. Shout out to the people up in the building. Let me know how you feel about this. The 19-year-old dressed in orange prison jumpsuit. All right. He spoke via video from inside the Northumberland County Jail. He said, "Yes, I hit Samantha, but I did not do all these things to Arabella," he said. Burgess is accused by state troopers of beating the 3-year-old girl so badly that part of her brain, like I mentioned before, needed to be removed. Del Camp, being the mother, is 24, of Trevorton, is also accused by the state police of knowing about the abuse, knowing about it of her daughter, and not reporting it. All right. Goes on to say, on the night of October the 10th, Arabella was taken by ambulance to Geisinger Medical Center in Danville, where she was on life support until Wednesday. All right, which, like I said, that's over a month that she was on life support, and just sitting there. I mean, it's extremely critical injuries. All right, as you can see, Arabella passed away Friday afternoon in the arms of her aunt. That would be Mandy Kegler. And honestly, I get a little bit of relief from that, just thinking about that. I know it's a nightmare situation, but at the same time, this little girl, she survived against all odds, all right? She took some final breaths on Earth. And in this moment, from what I assume that the news ain't making this up, she got to have some sort of comfort, a little bit, from her aunt, who's kind of a meaty lady. Probably a lot of cushion of this lady holding holding the little baby. I mean, I just imagine that she went out in a very comfortable way, and that's what that's what I could have hoped for. To be honest, if we're being real, out of all the different scenarios that could have played out, it seemed like this one was decent, I guess you would say. All right, but Burgess claims at noon on October the 10th, a Children and Youth Service official visited the Trevorton home of Burgess and Del Camp. All right, Burgess said a caseworker looked over Arabella and said that she was fine. All right, it's kind of interesting as far as all the different injuries that she might have had. I couldn't say who's the caseworker. I'm sure all these details can come out. But what did that caseworker see on this very day of October the 10th, in which the caseworker makes a visit because they've already established a relationship? These caseworkers, the government, if you will, trying to keep tabs on this young mother who seems to be wilding out. And the article continues. Children and Youth Services does not release information about any case. Director Katrina Gownley said that she could not discuss Arabella's case. And that's kind of interesting. There's probably a reason for that. But as you can tell, it's just kind of like it leaves a lot to the imagination. What's going on? Maybe that's not for the public to know. All right. I would go ahead and suggest that it's probably best for the courts to know and figure it out. And I wonder just how translucent that'll be. Burgess said that he left the home shortly after, and Arabella was in the care of Del Camp, who Burgess said was frustrated because she ran out of get that. And I don't know if that word's going to get us deleted off of YouTube or I can even say that, all right? But I just want to say about that, a lot of people feel a lot of different ways about that particular control substance or whatever. Thing is, a lot of people feel very positive about it. I know that I've seen in my personal experience this type of person, Samantha Del Camp, as she's being described right now, right? And she'll probably be described as it a little bit later and by multiple people. It's kind of like, she's very dependent. She's spiritually broken for whatever reason. This is what I'm assuming from what I've seen. Spiritually kind of broken. Young girl, has no idea what she's doing. But however, relies on certain things to get her through your day. A lot of people be popping pills, all right, whether they get it from a doctor or they get it from the streets. They're going to get some pills, maybe pop them. A lot of these people, it's very typical that they'll be highly dependent on this particular marijuana substance, all right? Now, I got to say, from personal experience, about people who I've never really described on this channel and stuff, people that you'll never meet. I've seen ladies out there who rely very heavily on it because they're spiritually broken and stuff like that. And when they don't have it, some weird things start to come out. Meanwhile, the same type of person, it's very typical, stereotypical. They have a hard time keeping a job, all right? They might get a part time job, and they might not even be able to keep it. They're just very impulsive. They're highly dependent on marijuana, just like, and they need money to support their habits and stuff like that. Meanwhile, they're having a very hard time keeping a job and stuff like that. So, in this particular situation, she has a baby. All right, it's by this guy, and I don't know if they're gonna describe him in the article, but she has a baby by this guy. He winds up doing all sort of stuff to include drunk driving with his daughter Arabella in the back seat. All right, and he winds up doing stuff and messing up on parole or this and that, and he's off somewhere in a facility while all this is going down. All right. And you have a single mother. Like I said, it seems very impulsive. It seems like I've seen this before. When the marijuana runs out in those particular situations, demons start to just pop out. All right. Wild stuff begins happening. And so now we're in a case where it's a he said, she said. All right. But like I said, I've had experience in seeing these sort of things. And I could break down, at least from what I see, my theory on all these little details that we're getting, right? So I want to go ahead and read a little bit more into it as far as the details, all right? It says right here, she ran out of marijuana. Trust me, I've heard of that before, all right? I don't know who to believe, but I know who's saying the things that sound more accurate. Burgess said he left the home to go to work. Burgess claimed he worked at a coin shop and that he ran his own pawn shop online. I wouldn't doubt it. That seems like something that he would do. Quote, I came back around 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. after picking my mother up from work, Burgess said. Burgess said he, Del Camp, and Arabella were inside the Shamokin Street apartment. They ate cheeseburgers and frozen Salisbury steak sandwiches for dinner. Arabella was not eating. Okay, this is all what Jared is saying. He says Arabella was not eating, and Burgess said Del Camp was standing at the kitchen sink doing dishes when she got angry over the child's refusal to eat. All right, we know a whole host of weird, wild stuff happens in these weird situations that people find themselves in with children while they're looking after children. All right. And I know everything under the sun happens, but certain things happen more often than others. I don't think it's too typical for guys to just move a person in, a mother of a small child, and start immediately beating them around. All right, the child and the mother. That's not too typical. I'm sure it does happen sometimes. But I'm just going by like statistically. I want to vouch that it's not too typical that happens immediately, and if so, that's highly irresponsible on the mother's part, in my opinion, from what I've seen. All right, it's kind of terrible, but that's probably not what happened. It's seeming a lot more like Jared Burgess's story is probably more accurate in that I've seen it. These mothers, of course, it's not all mothers. It's not the majority of mothers, but it's a large group of mothers who carry on in this way. I've seen them. I've met quite a number of them. They carry on in this way, and trust me, when that marijuana runs out, there's problems. I'm not speaking on people who I'm close to, but I've seen it before. All right, it's problems. Demons start popping out, and this and that. They just start acting wild ways and very rash ways. All right. I can imagine that it's actually more typical. This is leading into my theory. It is more typical that a mother will take out all their fury and rage as far as being worthless, as far as not being able to keep a job, as far as not being able to buy things and pay bills and stuff like that, being highly dependent on marijuana, that sort of stuff. That's actually more typical for them to take out their rage on their own child, because when they look at their own child, they might see the other parent and grow into a rage. Typically it would be the mother seeing the father of that child in the child, and therefore taking out the rage. I'm not saying it happens to a majority, but that's what I'm saying is that it happens a lot. and it seems more believable. And so now it's all coming out. The thing is, this is what I was already having my gut instinct. I was seeing red flags already, right? What he's describing is a little bit more plausible. It makes a little bit more sense. And it would also make more sense in that she had injuries that looked like came from habitual abuse. Chances are those injuries had been happening well before Jared Burgess got in the picture. Meanwhile, all right, I don't know how much more of this we're going to read, but you see where this article is going, all right? That she kind of loses it. I think he kind of details it a little bit of what exactly happened from there, right? So, like, okay, the child's refusing to eat. This lady allegedly she ran out of marijuana. She's getting all pissed, and I don't know if you've ever heard of anything like this. Jared Burgess says she picked her Arabella up and threw her across the room. I know it sounds like a nightmare. I know Jared Burgess could be lying right now, and it would make sense for him to lie. But I don't know if you've ever heard of something like this. I have heard of stuff like this, right? I have heard of it happening a time or two. She picked up Arabella, threw her across the room, where Arabella hit part of the couch and landed on the floor, where she then hit her head. All right, Burgess said Arabella began to have a seizure. Burgess said that he told Del Camp she needs to fix this. All right, and they researched information on what to do if children were having seizures. Trust me, like if you're beating around your child habitually, you probably want to look that up beforehand. But obviously, I wouldn't put it past people to not have the hindsight or like not be able to see that they're gonna need to know this information after a while. So they're looking it up. They're desperately trying to look it up for about 45 minutes, right? And then after that time period in which they're contacting all sort of people to include Burgess's mom, and now she's implicated, and I think she might be up in the jail right now over implications in this scenario of her basically lying in testimonials and trying to protect her son. I think she's up in jail right now. Notice that they're not talking about his father. There's a very serious lack of fathers in this whole story. All right, all over the place there's a lack of fathers. I think you're gonna know. All right, but it seems as though he got. That's what my gut instinct. That's my theory, and I could be proven wrong. But it seems as though he got implicated for something that he didn't do, and it seems actually much more typical that it was the mother who did all this sort of stuff. And just as typical, she's being charged with half of the crimes. The reason is because she attested that it was Jared Burgess who did all this. Right? She's the one who laid down the allegations first. Jared Burgess did all this. All right. Thing is, he's already been arrested and stuff like that. He found himself in custody, and meanwhile, the mother spilled up all the beans. She was hoping to get sympathy for this. She didn't really. She is being charged, and I'm talking about sitting down for some years. All right, but like I said, half the charges of Jared Burgess, all on the word of Samantha Del Camp. She's out here trying to pretend like she's some sort of victim, that she ran up in this relationship and immediately started getting beaten around and immediately had no idea how to get out of the situation. I mean, the short answer is drugs. That's the reason why she couldn't get out of the situation. You can remove yourself from the situation if, in fact, you're not totally addicted to drugs. All right. And so I could see already, you don't have to tell me that detail because her whole family just kind of looks like they've seen a drug or two in their life. All right. To include especially her mom. There really ain't no fathers around. All right. So Jared Burgess, this is my theory. He gets caught up in this whole mess. Yeah, the mother, she's kind of like just high strung. I've seen this before. And yeah, she might get a little bit over the top with her child. But then again, no one else is going to care for this child anyways. This guy, Jared Burgess, he has some sort of relationship with the baby daddy and was smuggling him stuff in jail. And the article actually goes on and talks about that a little bit. We didn't read the whole article, but there's another thing I want to cover before we get out of here. You know what I'm saying? We're running a little bit short on time. We got about 10 more minutes. But I wanted to put that across. I think that this is actually what took place, more than likely, and the details are going to come to light regardless, all right? But meanwhile, we might see an example of justice not even being had anyways. We could very well see Samantha Del Camp perhaps lying her ass off. She's been described by everybody, to include her family, as a miserable, terrible person, and that she's very capable of just lying and carrying on and having erratic behavior. All right, so that falls in line with the theory. The lack of marijuana and this and that sent her over the edge. She doesn't know how to deal with the child. She can't administer discipline in a way that isn't violent and emotional. Right? She winds up doing this horrible stuff, and then she winds up blaming it on this young fella. Meanwhile, like I said before, in my theory, I don't really have no respect for this. I'm not trying to take up for Jared Burgess. I'm here to tell y'all. I'm just saying, like, this is really what it looks like. And I gotta say, as far as Jared Burgess goes, if my theory is gonna hold up, if what he's saying is true, if the details are gonna come out and show all this, he got himself into a very bad situation by carrying on doing some bonehead crimes and stuff, trying to smuggle people's stuff in jail and stuff like that. He got himself in a very bad situation, to include probably having relations with this young lady, Samantha Del Camp. And the thing is, he's got a sordid past as far as perhaps maybe not stalking his former baby mom and stuff. All sort of details on that. All right, but he got himself into a bad situation in which he stood idly by in any event, at very bare minimum, stood idly by and watched this mother pretty much physically abuse this little girl, and he didn't say much about it. He minded his own business. All right, I'm sure that that happens a lot. I'm sure that that happens very often. Meanwhile, it turned around and blew up in his face because him not saying nothing ever kind of led to this situation right here, in which the mother gets highly emotional. She started acting very rash and just kind of loses it. Throws her child, dude. Ain't nobody gonna be able to stop you in time. And she did it, made a rash decision, and now everybody's freaking out because they know that they carry on in crimes all throughout that house. There's multiple people living in that house, probably committing all sort of crimes, basically. And they're just like, Dave, you need to do something. We got all this crime all around this house, and you need to think about it and do something. And then she panicked. She did the absolute wrong thing that you would ever want to do. They both get locked up. Jared Burgess gets immediately implicated. Samantha Del Camp throws him up under the bus, thinking that she's going to get a lesser sentence, especially if she cooperates. In fact, she's hoping in her heart of hearts that she doesn't see any more jail time that's absolutely necessary. And basically, she may or may not miss her daughter, but at the same time, pretty sure she's the one who went ahead and killed her daughter. More than likely. And I'm not sure if that's hate speech, but that is my theory. That is what happened. And a long time ago, before we started this story, that's the latest update. That's what I had to share with y'all as far as this story. I mentioned how, you're always being recorded, you're always being surveilled. Perhaps people in China have like recordings of everything you done. Whether or not you posted it on the internet, it really doesn't matter. They got recordings of this. All right. In certain instances, they've been using things like I said, like Amazon, their Alexa, and stuff like that. Different things like that. They've been using that against people in criminal court. All right. That is to say that regardless, they do have everything recorded. So somewhere there does exist a recording, if not just completely audio. And the thing is, I bet you we get audio of this event occurring, and it's going to be pretty easy to figure out just exactly what happened during this event. It's going to be obviously with the greatest of ease. Now, we're probably not ever going to hear that recording. All right, that's probably not going to be brought to court. They're probably not even going to bring that up. But technically speaking, that recording does exist. In fact, probably on multiple accounts. If there was enough cell phones in and around that situation, you probably have two or three different cell phones that picked up the audio alone, and the audio will probably tell you exactly what happened on that particular day. It does exist, but there's a large part of this controlling system that doesn't want to have you know that this exists. Of course, you've been recorded for sure. They have it. If they wanted to solve this mystery bad enough, yeah, they can find it and figure it out. But they can pretend like they don't have that technology and act like they never heard of that before, even though they've used it before in court. And it's kind of nutballs. It's a little bit wild to think about it. All right, but we are running out of time. We got about 5 minutes left to go. I guess this whole episode is dedicated to this particular item. I think it's very deep, in that it's got all sort of red flags that you're gonna want to keep an eye out for, and it's talked about a lot on the internet as far as single motherhood, as far as people putting stuff in danger, and single fatherhood for that matter, bringing your child into environments of danger, being very reckless, being very lazy, being having a bad reputation. Meanwhile, the legal system is going to let you have your child and stuff and do whatever you want with it, to include abuse it to no end. And that stuff is going to happen, and there's no amount of legislation that's going to legislate that out of society. It's a societal thing. There's definitely reforms that we could do up in the legal system, the justice system, and I can see where you're going with it. But at the end of the day, for me personally, it's going to start on the ground level, on an individual level. If people seeing this retardation and just being like so off put by it that they go the other way, they go the opposite way, and they notice the red flags for what they are, and they see certain trends that are just very disturbing. All right, I think that's what we're getting down to the bottom too. And we ran out of time. We only got so much more time, and I got to get up out of here and make some money. I appreciate all y'all out here. All right, we're winding it down. Leah L. Of course, there's Brenda, Angela, and stuff like that. Holler at all y'all, man. I appreciate all y'all. For those who are going to check up on the recording, we're going to start to get things more professional around here. We're going to start to, be a little bit more timely. I think I feel satisfied with as much time as we spent on that, and there's definitely going to be updates. All right. But I did want to kind of mention something that I wanted to talk more about, and we're going to see updates. You're going to notice them from later. All right. What's up to the people in the comments section? I'm going to holler at y'all in 1 second before we close this out, y'all. We're winding it down. We're discussing wild things, and we're discussing child abuse. And trust me, we're going to stay up on this situation that's not exactly completely explained to us yet. But it's regarding a lady, and there's only one picture of this lady on the entire internet. You can look her up. Her name is Carla Faith. All right, it's regarding a daycare in Colorado just recently. I can imagine it's not the only one out there, but there's a daycare in which they had a secret basement, and they had children hidden behind a false wall, all Scooby-Doo style, up in a basement where they were hiding them. It was highly illegal, and many different various news outlets have been talking about it, or at least just mentioning it one time. You can find it on YouTube as far as the different testimonials that people have been giving, the different updates that they've been having. All right. And we discussed this a little bit last night. It's very interesting. I got it bookmarked, and you can check it out, I guess, whenever you want. It's surprising that they haven't deleted it. All right. Here's a lady who's so mysterious, and that's what I want to dwell upon as we close it out. So completely mysterious. All right. That's what I want to dwell upon. Just completely. It makes you want to know more. Trust me, I want to know more when it comes to Carla Faith. How come you can only find one picture of her that exists in the whole world? Now, I know some people they're a little bit guarded and they don't take so many pictures, but this is a lady who supposedly ran all sort of child care facilities, all sort of them, around Colorado Springs. All right, one of them came up with a secret basement where she hides toddlers and stuff, highly illegal and very irresponsible, and it was described to be like a nightmare type situation. Like, I mean, you didn't find anything like as far as dead babies or anything, but from what I heard, it was not something that you would want to have happen in a small secret basement. All right. And so we're talking about that, and I just want to dwell upon the mysteriousness of this lady. All right, obviously people are gonna get more details as they search and stuff. But meanwhile, right out here in the open, if you were to Google this lady's name, you might come across what we're looking at right now, which is like a profile basically. It's a web site that's dedicated to finding people childcare and stuff like that. You can find what's happening in your area, what you can find, what you like best, and shop around. As far as childcare in that particular area, I think this is a nationwide little website, but they do have Carla Faith, and they do have details on her, all sort of details. All right, to include like where she's at. That's what we're looking at right now. And other details like what you might want to know about her, what's her capacity as far as certain facilities. Now we know that in the house that they found a secret basement in, her capacity, and it was a registered daycare, was 6 children. All right, that was her maximum that she could have. She had 26 toddlers in a secret basement. And I know that's what a lot of people are tripping on. So am I. I'm really consumed with the secret basement part of this whole story. All right. And I know that if we dig into this and it's not completely fake and made up, if it isn't, then it's going to get real wild after this. All right. Obviously, because this is a mysterious lady. How in the world could she only have one picture? She doesn't have a picture on this profile. She just doesn't take any pictures. All right. But as you can see, a myriad of allegations. This is kind of a chart that describes them, and it's been going on for years. All right, I just want to point that out. That not only is she very mysterious, but it is documented, well documented, that she's had a lot of complaints leveled against her throughout various years and years. She's been able to do these things that have seemed very questionable and for some reason just not investigated over the course of years and years. All right, and just to go over some, like it doesn't tell you the exact detail, but in 2017 she had allegations leveled against her. That's what it says right here, and they were found to be unfounded. Who categorized them as unfounded? That's what I want to know. Who puts their name behind that? How exactly? Thing is, maybe they were unfounded, but the complaints just keep rolling in over the years because in 2016, you see there's a complaint right there for over enrollment, and that was declared as unfounded. That particular complaint, over enrollment. See, we found out that this is what she was doing. How long was she doing it? Probably the entire time, but you couldn't say. It'd be hard to tell. She's probably been doing this the entire time. She's been caught for doing this just a state over in California. We're talking about in the 90s. A long time ago, she was caught for doing the same exact thing. So we're talking about actually in the 2000s. So this is not even like the be all end all of like the record behind Carla Faith. It's just that this is only for Colorado, and it doesn't even say nothing about the California incidents. So you got going back to 2009, stat to child ratio. That was proven to be unfounded by who? Somebody investigated, found that unfounded. How is she getting all these allegations against her? And meanwhile, none of them are true. They're all being found unfounded. Meanwhile, years later, we come to find out that they were very founded. That she was actually doing all this stuff. And she's probably been doing it the whole time. All right. Categorize allegation facility conditions, safety, unfounded, stat to child ratio, unfounded, staff qualifications, unfounded, lack of supervision, unfounded. All these allegations leveled against her for years. All right. 2004, unable to publish. Some reason unable to publish for some reason. State licensing to follow up investigation. All this stuff like unfounded. Over enrollment, unfounded, over and over and over and over, all in Colorado, and she did the same thing in California. All right, and of course you can see the reviews, and trust me, the reviews aren't exactly nice as far as this lady goes. And for some reason or other, they have not even deleted this off the internet. It's so wild to even think. That's kind of the mysterious nature behind this lady. And obviously, we know that the news is fake, right? And they're trying to manipulate us. And lots of times they might be saying things that we don't believe. We find it unbelievable. They're trying to sweep this under the rug. And so therefore, we're going to just jump all over it. You know what I'm saying? Like a dang pit bull. We're not going to let go. Y'all, I ran out of time. And I appreciate everybody out there. Hopefully, we're going to have a better broadcast next time. And we're going to work on it, y'all. I appreciate everybody. Hop in my Discord and stuff. I'm going to leave a link below and stuff like that. People will get wind of it. It's going to be a chat room. We're going to discuss all this sort of stuff. Like, whenever we feel like it. At our leisure, we're going to discuss, all this sort of wild stuff. that we're doing all up on Discord and stuff. I appreciate y'all out there. I'm gonna holler at y'all a little bit later. It is the November the 26th, probably 2019. And shout out to everybody in the comments. I gotta say, good night to everybody out there. We got Angela Hickenbottom. We got Leah L. I thought we had on Rabbi Brenda at one point. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. We got Angela Tate. We got all sort of people all across the world. And I appreciate the crap out of y'all, man. And it's only going to get better. There's only one way to go from here, to be honest. And, it's just with some time, give it some time. And we're going to start churning them out. We're going to really start making some waves. And we're going to start putting it together and working in like in a communist sense. We're going to have communist brains. So we're all going to become commies. And we're going to put all our brains together. We're going to come up with all sort of solutions, right? I appreciate y'all out there. I'll holler at y'all next time. Maybe on Wednesday, but maybe not on Wednesday. I think I might have to work. I'll let y'all know, and I'll keep y'all updated. I appreciate y'all, and I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.